They're planning for a future where you don't own money. So is it time that we begin to prepare for the possibility of a future where you will not own CBDC money and you'll have no privacy either? Now, you all may have heard about how the White House and the Federal Reserve have started to lay the groundwork for a programmable, trackable, and easily manipulated digital currency. And the most alarming bit is that this is all too real, and it could soon change all of our lives in America forever. And back in March of last year, an executive order was released that directed numerous federal agencies to crack down on digital assets, including popular cryptocurrencies, as well as to study the potential development of a central bank digital currency, a CBDC. And just to quickly bring you up to speed, a CBDC would not be a digital version of the existing paper-based dollar, but rather an entirely new currency that would exist exclusively in a digital, meaning an electronic, non-physical form of payment. Then, just a few months later in September, the White House announced the completion of the CBDC report and announced that it had developed policy objectives for a U.S. central bank digital currency system. But perhaps most disturbing of all, however, is that under most of the CBDC designs discussed by the White House and Federal Reserve, nearly all forms of ownership of CBDC money would also be strictly limited. And only large institutions such as banks, the federal government, and or the Federal Reserve would actually have ownership of CBDCs. Everyone else would be prevented from having absolute control over their digital money. Limiting control of my money. Now, I don't like the sound of that. Do you? Nor do I like the idea of being left vulnerable and restricted by mandates and possible expiration dates on my money and what I can choose to buy, purchase, and or invest in, while putting my own health and my family's health at risk due to changes that are happening in the environment, to the climate, the food we eat, the water we drink, the air we breathe. Smoke-filled air in New York as harmful and dangerous as East Palestine. Toxins polluting streams and rivers and harmful additives in our drinking water supply. Male reproductive parts shrinking and their packages becoming malformed because of pollution. Environmental scientists warning us all of the challenges facing human reproduction and how humanity is facing an existential crisis in fertility rates as a result of phthalates, which is a chemical used when manufacturing plastics that impacts the hormone-producing endocrine system, all having destructive effects on the overall population as well as relationships and pleasure and the ability to perform and satisfy your partner in a relationship, whether it be dating or marriage. Simply put, when attempting to be intimate in the bedroom. Safety concerns associated with the addition of fluoride in our drinking water. Is this really safe? And then there's the thought and realistic possibility of not being able to or allowed to purchase safe foods to eat, free of GMOs and added chemicals that I honestly can't even pronounce. Or not being able to buy ionized water filtration systems or air purifiers and HEPA filters to keep our lungs clean. And it all begins and ends with our freedom and or lack thereof when it comes to our money. So I just want to quickly put it out there that if you feel like you're all alone and have no one to talk to or no friends and feel like you have been ignored, you're not the only one. And we're here for you. Me and my wife, Squirrel Tribe, and countless others, and we don't hold back. We tell it all and show you what you really want to see. Everyone is welcome, men and women, free to express themselves and say what's on their minds without the fear of being judged. Come on over, join us, and let's be friends. You can honestly talk to us about anything in complete confidence. Now, I don't want to try and waste time by filling this video up with fluff just for increased retention and longer watch time. There's no sense in doing that, but I will say that if you do want to see more and watch longer videos with greater expansion on these topics, then we have a link in the description to those videos for anyone who's interested. Now, I've been warned that videos like these may not be received too well by the platform, and they would prefer these secrets not be revealed and discussed. But look, I ain't having that. So I'll say all I can here and continue to speak the truth where I know I'm allowed to truly exercise my freedoms and speak without fear of restriction, suppression, shadowing, canceling, or even termination. Like how the current plan for a central bank digital currency to replace money in America has no true value and is a reset to the existing banking system's fragile mental construct of printing money and fractional reserve banking, where the banking system operates a pyramid-like structure or format under which banks that take deposits from the public are not required to hold a substantial portion of their deposit liabilities in liquid assets as a reserve, and are at liberty to lend out multiples of their own deposits to other borrowers. Fractional reserve banking is a system in which only a fraction of bank deposits are required to be available for withdrawal, and so banks only need to keep a specific amount of cash on hand, a very small amount of cash on hand, which is oftentimes why you can't go to the bank without an appointment to withdraw a few $1,000s. And so this infinite money glitch style banking system is what allows the banks to create loans from the money that you deposit. The fractional reserve banking process creates money that essentially isn't real and is then inserted into the economy. So, for instance, when you deposit that $2,000 from your tax return or company bonus or from the proceeds that you receive from selling your boat, your bank might lend 90% or more of it to other customers, along with 90% or more from 5 other customers' accounts. And this then creates enough capital to finance over $10,000 in loans, for example. You see the problem here? And although your balance ledger still reflects $2,000 and the customers that the bank borrowed from also see their balances remain unchanged, the truth is that if we all wanted to withdraw the money out of our bank account balances and online accounts and mobile phone apps and what they stated and reflected, we wouldn't be able to, because the money isn't actually there. Now, most countries today use fractional reserve banking because it is not feasible to use 100% reserve banking. And moreover, a system that requires banks to hold 100% of deposits cannot create more money without devaluing its currency. Thus, banks would need to hold a significant amount of capital to issue loans, and this would greatly reduce growth in developing and developed economies because the banks could not issue debt to businesses and consumers that rely on it for large purchases and investments. The biggest risk comes in the form of a need and necessity, and in times of high inflation and economic recession and severe depression, consumer panic can cause mass withdrawals and lack of capital. So when you see consumers, investors, and businesses panic about economic circumstances, they tend to run to their banks to withdraw everything that they can to prevent further losses. And this is called a bank run. And a fractional reserve system keeps them from withdrawing their capital because banks do not physically have it. Or better yet, they'll never have it because a CBDC will not be backed by any real tangible asset, nor will it be available for withdrawal. Already, the Bahamas, Jamaica, and Nigeria have already launched digital currencies backed by their central banks, with several other countries, including China, running trial projects, with the list of nations applying to join the BRICS system growing by the day. And the United Kingdom is moving closer to it by asking for public input on the idea, while the US and European Union are considering similar moves. Meanwhile, Zimbabwe will launch a digital currency next month by introducing tokens that are backed by gold reserves and can be transferred between people and businesses as a form of payment. This move is aimed at shoring up Zimbabwe's faltering national currency, the Zimbabwe dollar, which is fast depreciating amid years-long economic woes in the southern African nation. But there have been no talks of the U.S. doing anything similar, as the value of the dollar continues to be attacked and diluted as the White House and Fed push forward, full steam ahead into the new digital era and age of central bank digital currency. Now, I'm afraid I may have already said too much, and I don't want to see this channel disappear, so I will refrain from pushing the envelope any further, because they would receive no greater joy than to see me and this type of information and educational content disappear for good. So I will just let you all know that there is a very important video linked below that does a great job of explaining what is happening and what they are preparing to do next. Check it out after this video. And if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to drop them down below. But I will say that most of my comments are not being shown, and I think it's just another form of suppression from me sharing the truth. So if you want, it may be best to contact us directly, and that link is down below in the description as well. There is a plan and a strategy. They have one, and so we must make sure that we have our own too. Stay safe out there.